makeup application. Make an appointment today and see how glamorous you can look. Call 561-409-4065 to book your appointment. Ivy Lee's Luxe Makeup and Beauty Lounge is located at 233 South Federal Highway on the first floor of the Boca Grand Building in Boca Raton. The number again is 561-409-4065.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Hello, welcome to the Becky and Boca Show. Before I get started here, as usual, I have to thank my sponsor, Ivy Lee's Luxe Makeup and Beauty Lounge. Lisa does such a great job on my makeup. All the makeup artists there are great, but I always have so much fun getting my makeup done there on Thursdays. They do an incredible job. It's right downtown Boca, 233 South Federal Highway. Ivy Lee's Luxe Makeup and Beauty Lounge. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram. They are fantastic.
They are.
And speaking of cosmetic things, my guest tonight is Christina Monaco. She is a PA, and she works for Allenby Cosmetic Dermatology.
Yes,
correct?
I do. Yes, I do. Thank you so much, Becky, for having me on the show. I am very excited to be here.
I'm happy to have you.
Thanks. And kind of get myself acclimated to the Boca area.
You've come to the right place.
Yes.
We're all about beauty and aesthetics and downtown Boca. I love that sort of thing. And I love Dr. Allenby. She's been on my show many, many times.
I know. I'm so blessed. I really am. I'm so excited to be part of the Allenby Cosmetic family. I am just fresh out of moving from New York.
You were telling me about that in the green room.
Yeah, so,
you picked a good time of year to move down here.
Oh, that's for sure. I keep hearing that from so many people. And, you know, I've been coming down here for many years. My parents actually moved down here about 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. And my husband has been coming down to South Florida for many years, you know, like everyone else. Grandparents live here. So he's been coming back and forth, and he always wanted to move from New York down to South Florida. And I was always the one that said no until over the summer up in New York, and I had this light bulb moment that we could be living in beautiful...
In paradise.
Yeah, like where people vacation. So
right.
we...
Permanently.
Yes, and so we figured it out, and here we
are.
Have
you been here in the summer yet?
So I was actually in Miami in August.
Okay, so you know. And you still came.
But people say, you know, oh, it's so hot. But it's also really warm and humid up in New York. So
I'm from Chicago, and when I go up there in August, it's worse than here. Yes. I think we have more efficient air conditioning.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's like make sure that the air is always on.
And you get a little breeze being by the water here that you don't get in maybe doing New York, but in Chicago.
Beautiful. No, it's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, being down here for the last 6 to 8 weeks since we moved, we literally packed up the day after Christmas. We're in the car and made our transition. But it's been really nice, really welcoming, getting acclimated in the Boca area and just getting familiarized with new patients and new friends, really, you know, because that's what it's really about. I'm looking forward to building new relationships.
There's a lot of good people in South Florida.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't exactly from Florida. They're from somewhere else.
I would say most of the people in Boca Raton are from New York and New Jersey.
I feel it's my first 3 weeks working in the practice. Everyone, I was like, oh, so where are you from? The New York, and I'm from Nassau County. That's where my husband and I lived, and they all were in the surrounding towns.
The same area.
And Dr. Allenby was like,
how is that possible?
So I just basically picked up and moved down here. So
good for you.
And it's like Nassau County, but with really nice weather.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you'll find a lot of good people here.
Yes.
I know. And your field, cosmetic dermatology, is perfect for this area. I know you're an injector, correct?
I am an injector. So I work alongside Dr. Allenby. She has welcomed me with open arms.
She's wonderful.
She is fantastic. And so is her staff. And the first day that I was there, it felt as if I was there for years. So I have 7 years experience working in aesthetic dermatology. I have been a physician assistant for 8 years, but my first year right out of school, it took some time to get into the dermatology and the aesthetic field. But I've been working with aesthetics and cosmetic derm for 7 years. So I left New York. I left a great practice up there, and I was actually working with a fantastic injector. And when I was deciding to make the transition down here, I knew that if I was going to make the move, it had to be with somebody who had a fantastic reputation.
A really good reputation.
Who was, very well known, well liked in the field, because let's face it, there are so many injectors and everywhere in New York, New York City, Boca, Delray. So I wanted to find somebody that I clicked with.
Yeah.
Because it's
she told me you have a little Yorkie too, right?
I do.
For those of you that don't know, Dr. Allenby is a Yorkie person.
Yes, I have a little teacup Yorkie. Her name is Penelope.
How does that happen, that you happen to have a Yorkie and you applied with Janet?
I have no idea. I walked in for the interview, and she had this picture of her dog, at the time, Tinkerbell, and I was like, oh, I'm at home. I have a teacup Yorkie, and it was just funny. So,
funny.
Yeah. So
that is funny.
So my little girl's 3 years old, so we definitely clicked right off the bat.
How much does your dog weigh?
6 pounds, like 5.8, 6 pounds. And so it's a funny story, actually. I was kind of telling you this. So when I was looking for a job down here, I actually reached out to Dr. Allenby personally, and I knew of her through friends and reps up in the New York area, and she had a fabulous reputation, and so I knew that if it was going to work out, it would work out, and it did. Here I am.
Yeah, wow. Well, you landed in a great place.
I know.
You were going to have so much fun.
I love her.
And Dr. Allenby tells me you are a very good injector. Very high quality work.
Thank you. She is so kind, and I appreciate her kind words and her support. I have learned from, like I said, my mentor was a fabulous injector up in New York, and Dr. Allenby knows of her. And I think that what sets, and this is my opinion, that sets a great injector apart is having the skills to kind of take a step back and not only address what the patient's concern is, but also look at the face as not just like what you see in a mirror, right? So patients and people look in the mirror all the time, and they'll come in and they'll say that something bothers them on their face. But meanwhile, I'll look at their face and I think that it's something else that really needs to be fixed. And when I started talking to Dr. Allenby, like when I first started, and when she was talking to me about possibly joining the practice, we really agreed on that same thing. And I think that's what that really is important when you're injecting. It's because it's not
you're looking at the overall picture, how it's going to turn out.
Right. It's not one size fits all.
I always tell, I have friends that say they go to the doctor and they say, I want this, this, and this when you're doing my face.
Yeah.
And when I go, I say, do what you think I need.
Right.
Because you're the expert and you're looking at, and you know how it's going to turn out.
Right.
So,
of course. I mean, I think that every age group is also different, right? So I'm in my 30s, and, being in New York versus South Florida, obviously the difference is extreme sun exposure and tons of, humidity and dehydration. And so when that happens, our skin not only, because I also say to patients, it's not just about aesthetics with like filler and neurotoxin. It's also about taking care of your skin. So great sunscreen, great skincare. And so what I also love about the practice and Dr. Allenby is that we feel the same exact way. We feel like when you come in, it's not just about, everyone
Let's
thinks
fix
that
the
maybe
damage.
it's filler and or neurotoxin, but what about skincare? What about, rehydrating the skin, rehydrating the face? So what I kind of say is, Dr. Allenby has her patients that she's been working on for so long and a certain age group. And I have expertise not only with, millennials, but also back in New York, I had a range of patients that I would treat in terms of their age. And I think that each age requires something different. So a 30-year-old is going to require something different than a 50-year-old, and a 40-year-old
Right.
is going to require something different than
Absolutely.
a 60-year-old. And so I think to the naive patient who maybe has never had treatment before, they get a little overwhelmed thinking that they're going to come in and they're going to look different, and that's not what we're trying to do.
I think that's a lot of people's fears.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. And all of my patients up in New York, I would hear that.
They don't want to look freaky.
Yes.
So
And
the
so
key
many
is
words.
Yeah. But you know what? I've discussed this with Dr. Allenby on the show. The reason people are afraid of that is they only notice the bad work.
Yes.
When they're out in the community, particularly in South Florida, there's a lot of the hideous work. And that's what you notice. And then you think, oh, that's what fillers look like. Oh, that's what lips look like.
Right,
That's
right,
what cheeks look
right.
like when you have them done.
You know,
But the good work kind of goes unnoticed.
exactly. It's like, so I go to, one of the things that I find that's very important is staying current with education and learning. And so I try to go to conferences and I try to go
Yeah.
to things every single year, and you'll hear from injectors that are from Beverly Hills. We'll hear from people that are in, LA, they're from New York, and they all treat differently. The aesthetic look is different everywhere.
That's interesting.
And so, everyone has this thought process that you're going to come down and everyone's going to have big lips and big cheeks. But to be honest with you, what we're trying to achieve is a refreshed, natural,
Yeah.
beautiful look, right? And you can do that very easily. You start with great skincare, and then maybe you need some minor devices. Maybe you just need a little laser, maybe a little refreshing with some neurotoxin. I mean, you don't have to go overboard.
Right.
And so I'm also finding a lot of younger patients are starting to come in
I was going to ask you, what are the younger patients coming in for?
prevention methods.
Would that be neurotoxins before they get the wrinkles?
Yes. So,
Okay.
Starting very young in our late 20s, early 30s, we're starting to lose collagen. And collagen is really what we notice to promote volume in our face. And what starts to happen is in our 20s and 30s, we should already be using top grade skincare, things that are going to boost our natural collagen supply.
That's something a lot of people don't think about.
Yes.
They think about getting the neurotoxins, they think about getting the fillers, they
Right,
think
right,
about
right.
getting the peel and all
Yeah.
that. But they don't think about just taking care of their skin on a daily basis. So
You
what do you
have to.
recommend for that? Now, I'm curious myself.
So I'll just tell you what my regimen has been for a really long time.
Okay.
This is what I recommend typically to patients. I recommend a great face wash. I'm not a big fan of toners. That's just my personal opinion. I think sometimes majority of them are alcohol based, and so
Yeah.
you're going to dry your skin out even more. But daytime, nighttime, you certainly need a collagen stimulating serum or lotion.
Now, what would that be?
So, there's so many out there. It really just depends. Something that has, sometimes they have growth factor in there. Sometimes they have alpha hydroxy. Sometimes they have a mix of, everyone knows Retin-A. So it really
I was
depends.
gonna ask you about that.
And
Okay.
a lot of the companies out there, a lot of you guys may even know of them. Skin Medica and Skin Better Science.
And all these are available at your practice?
Yes.
Okay.
We have so many to really customize and tailor to the to what the
Okay,
patient's
so the
needs are.
skincare is important.
So skincare is really important. And then when the millennial patient or the patient comes in their 30s, what we're talking about is really preventing whether they have deep lines or lines that haven't really set in yet. We're trying to prevent them from becoming noticed or from becoming deeper. So
Right.
a little neurotoxin. It's simple. It's quick. You're in and out. No downtime, if
No.
anything. And everyone always wants to know if there's going to be bruising and swelling. And it's unfortunately we use a needle for that, so there's always a
Always a
possibility
chance,
that
yeah.
there could be some swelling and bruising. In the millennial age group, my millennial patients are really big right now on cheeks and jawline.
Oh, interesting.
It's probably one of my favorite top three.
So you're
top
putting
two
filler in the
areas.
cheeks or jawline to build it out a little bit?
And to give them a little bit more of that contoured look in the jawline.
I love that.
One of the things I also love to pair the jawline with is cool sculpting, which is that non-invasive fat reduction treatment.
Oh, to get rid of, okay.
Yeah, so it kind of slims down the under the chin area. We call it the submental
So someone
region.
could come and get that and then could also fill out the jaw. You'd have a
Yes.
whole new, wow, I love this.
It's so great.
I love this.
And so that's really, really a hot topic right now. And then the cheeks it's always been a big topic ever since. Everyone's been obsessed with contouring and blush and all that stuff. So we see a ton of patients, and even down here in South Florida, people are still asking for it. It doesn't matter what the age. I mean, ideally, I think that if you're in your early 20s, I mean, we start with skincare and we kind of assess the face. I'm not saying that everybody in their 20s is running in to get treatment, but we do see patients that are in their 20s starting the prevention routine.
Okay. And then I think probably the 30s and 40s would be a little more neurotoxin.
Yeah, so 30s and 40s, we, especially down here in South Florida, we're starting to get the effects of the sun damage. We're starting to get the sunspots.
And it's so hard to prevent. I mean, I do everything I can to not get sun damage. And
sunscreen is key, like 100%.
What kind? I know there's been some debate
There's
recently.
so many.
The formula, though.
Yeah, so I really love anything that's a physical-based sunscreen versus a chemical-based sunscreen.
So you mean that has some metals in it?
It has, it's like zinc.
oxide.
Yes.
Okay. And they have some now
titanium
that's not
zinc.
white, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Some of them are even...
People think that they got to walk around, and you see those people.
So they have like the strip of the
the whole face. I see them over at the beach.
My go-to, I really do like Elta MD.
Elta?
Elta MD is fantastic because if I'm playing tennis or if I'm going out, running or whatever, it's great because they have sweat resistant, it's great. It's really not like it is cosmeceutical, but it's not like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like super expensive. That like it's like a really great price point, and it's something that you could use. And if you're looking to use something under your makeup, there's so many that are like tinted and whatnot.
Yeah.
So definitely.
So you recommend putting it on before you put your makeup on, and then doing makeup over it?
100%. 100%. So sunspots are super. People come in all the time.
Oh yeah. How do you get rid of those?
So it really depends. Skin. We go through
they're age spots.
Yeah, the age spots. So the 4 pillars, I call them, is we go through skincare, we go through devices, we go through neurotoxin, and then filler. So when somebody comes into the office, the first thing I say is, what is your skincare routine like? And for the most part, a lot of people don't have a skincare routine. So if you have sunspots, we're going to talk to you about getting on something that will reduce the sunspots and brighten your skin and kind of get you on a routine. And then after that, we talk about the devices. Not everybody has the downtime to be home for 2 weeks. And nobody wants that either. People want to get in, get out, and they want to be able to go about their day, go to lunch with their friends, go to the gym, play golf, play tennis. The thing is that being in Florida, you have to be careful because certain lasers you can't do and then be outside. But what we have in our office is, anything that ranges from IPL, which is a very, it's a great treatment, but has very little downtime to kind of reduce and get rid of the pigmented or age spots. And then we do a ton of Vivace, which is radio frequency.
What is that?
It's radio frequency mixed with microneedling. And that can help with some pigment, but you're really going to get the effect of skin tightening and getting rid of, it really helps very well with crepiness and texture. And a lot of patients, late 30s into their 40s, are starting to notice that their skin isn't looking as vibrant, or it's not having that fine texture anymore. And so we're looking for ways to reduce that, improve the elasticity of the skin without having the downtime. So we do a ton of that. And I think that anybody is really a candidate for that. Doesn't matter what your age, and including, a great skincare routine. And then we get into the filler and neurotoxin.
Yeah. I want to ask you before you go any further about the brown spots. They're called age spots, or they're called, I was just talking to somebody about this today. When you see someone that's much older, like in their 70s or 80s, and the spots are huge.
Right.
Can that be prevented at a younger age by getting them before they get that big?
So there could be 2 different. So my medical derm side is coming out.
Okay.
Everyone should get a skin cancer screening every single year because sometimes these big spots, you don't want them to turn into something more serious.
Right.
However, majority of the time, you can prevent them by just wearing sunscreen starting super early. But a lot of times, if they're raised and they kind of have a weird texture to them, they may also just be genetic, so it kind of depends.
Yeah.
It really depends.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just depends on, what it looks like. And sometimes you have to visualize it.
Yeah. Okay. But the key is go see your dermatologist.
Yes.
and
Pretty much.
and have them look at it.
Right,
We
right.
can't judge what we're looking at.
Right.
So the fillers are like 30s and 40s?
I think that we're seeing patients doing fillers, hyaluronic acid based fillers, as early as their 20s up until
For
their
cheeks and the jawline.
I
love that you can sculpt a jawline.
Yes.
Now. Yes.
It's so great. It's probably one of the and another great place that we're doing it, before I forget, is the eyebrows. And a lot of people don't know that.
You're doing filler in the eyebrows?
Yes.
How does that work?
It's just really to kind of like emphasize and kind of make your face look more proportional. And so it really depends. It's not for every single patient, but some patients need it. So that's another common, like very trendy or new thing that people are hearing about and wanting to get done. But fillers are really done at any age. We do them in our 20s all the way up into patients in their 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
Of course, the older you are, the more syringes you need. And I think that is something that a lot of patients don't understand, is that just because you may be getting 6 syringes or 4 or 3 syringes does not mean that you're going to be overfilled. We're trying to get optimal correction.
Yeah.
And, there's nothing worse than a patient not being happy, right? So I think the thing that's also very important is patient education and talking to them about full correction methods. So fillers could be for any age group, really in their 20s, 30s, 40s, or 50s, and it just depends on what their need is to determine how much they would need.
Right. Okay. Does there come a point where someone would need just too much filler that it wouldn't even be worth it? Or is there a way to...
So that's a great question. And we actually hear this like all the time. Patients come in and they are seeking, Dr. Allenby's expertise or my expertise or our knowledge, really, to see if they're a candidate versus a surgical candidate. So,
But I know people can go a long time now, and I know women that never had surgery that look really good with Botox and fillers.
Right, because in our practice of medicine, we are the non-surgical side, right? And so we will do everything and anything to prevent having to have surgery.
Right.
Not saying that some patients are just surgical candidates. You know, they'll come in and they'll just have too much skin laxity, and or an area that's really hard to treat is their eyes. If people come in and they have very hooded eyes, or they have bags under their eyes, there's not much that you can do about that for the ideal surgical patient. But this kind of goes back to what Dr. Allenby and I are really in sync with, and that we're really passionate in terms of explaining to the patient, is that if you go and get a facelift, and I'm not saying that
doesn't
you can't.
mean you're not going to still need.
Exactly.
I know that's a thing a lot of people don't understand.
And the reason why is it just comes down to just our natural aging process. Our body breaks down bone. Our body breaks down our cheeks. Our jawline breaks down the orbits around
Sadly,
our
our
eyes.
face is always sinking.
Yeah, and so you can.
I hate
It's
the
like
thought of that.
It's like if you have a lumpy mattress, but then you just change the sheet, right? Like your mattress is still going to be lumpy. So if you don't correct the structure, which is what we can try to do with filler and devices and things like that. Even if you get a facelift, you're probably still going to need
Botox
something.
and fillers or neurotoxins and fillers. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we got a couple minutes left. Anything else you want to say that's...
Well, so a couple of things. You know that at Dr. Allenby's office, we are always having events, and it's such a fun place to go to. And ideally, like, I remember when I first started, I'm like, you could spend your whole day there.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's fantastic.
It's really so great. So we are doing an event on March 5th.
Okay.
I am hosting the event. It starts at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
And we're going to be talking about the latest trend in the neurotoxin world. And in the filler world, there's some newbies out there in terms of products. And so we're going to be introducing them and kind of just talking to patients and answering questions. Of course, there's going to be great specials. So if anybody is interested, it starts at 4 p.m. It's until 6:30.
Okay.
And we are going to be giving away great raffles and just having a lot of fun.
Okay, I'll put all that information on my
I'll give you
social
the
media
info.
for you. Yeah, let me know.
Yes.
And I think you're going to be very successful there.
Thank you. I'm very excited. Thank you so much for having me on the
Oh.
show. I'm very
I love this
excited
topic.
to. I know. I'm really excited
keep going.
to meet. All of our patients, and all the patients that I have met have been so fantastic and so lovely, and I just can't say enough wonderful things about the staff. But thank you again for having
Well,
me
you're
on.
in a great practice,
Yes,
and
thank
you
you.
complement the practice very, very well.
Thank
so
you,
I'm
thank
sure
you, thank
you'll be
you.
there a long time and be very
Yes.
successful. Okay, Christina Monaco.
Thank you.
And
Bye,
she
guys.
works at Allenby, dermatologist
Yes,
and,
on Linton Boulevard in Delray Beach.
in Delray Beach.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You have been watching and listening to The Becky and Boca Show. Tune in every Thursday night at 6 p.m. to discover all the ways to spoil yourself and have a good time in beautiful Boca Raton.